welcome back to my channel. How have you guys been? If you notice something different, it is because I finally got a camera and have not been using my phone to record anymore. So our videos are going to be like this from now on. If you're interested in what camera I got the Sony a6400. Today's video is going to be one of the most highly requested videos ever, and you guessed it, we are finally going to be talking about the prices. So the prices of studying abroad in Korea, the prices of living abroad in Korea, maybe even the prices of vacationing abroad in Korea. You name it, we are going to go over that today. So without further ado, let's get started. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified on when I'll be making new videos. And yeah. Just a little bit of background information about me. My name is Fiona. I studied abroad in Seoul, South Korea in the fall of 2018. It was one of the most memorable, independent, and best times of my life. I created this channel so I could tell you everything that you need to know before you study abroad in South Korea, so you will be more prepared than I was when I got there. So some tips that I want to get off my chest before we start this video is, number one, the fact that Korea is a very cashless society. So I'm talking about like credit cards everywhere. Like even street vendors will take your credit card. Like everywhere, almost everywhere will take your credit card. Literally, I barely carried any cash my entire time in Korea, so it was really great. So one thing I really recommend bringing is a credit card with no foreign transaction fee. So what that means is like you could slide it in any country in the world, and then what you do is you pay it in that currency. So when you insert the card in the card reader, it will ask you if you want to pay via like won in Korean won, or you want to pay in like USD. So you can just click won and there'll be no foreign transaction fee. It's actually even cheaper than if you paid in the US dollars. So this card right here, this is the Uber Visa card. I use this so much. I use this literally like every single day. This was my holy grail going to Korea. Before, they had really good benefits, like they had like 5% cash back on like restaurants. So when I was in Korea, I was living, you know, like every $100 that I spent on food, I would get $5 back, which is really good for a credit card. And there's no foreign transaction fee. So this was the credit card that I used during my time in Korea. I don't really use this card anymore just because they diminished all of the benefits. So I feel like it's not that great anymore. But right now, I still use this card for no foreign transaction fees. So anywhere you go, Europe, Amsterdam, China, Philippines, stuff like that, you will want to for sure get a no foreign transaction fee credit card. So we're going to be going over the biggest costs first. Okay, so next I'm going to go over the tuition costs for studying abroad in Korea University. So I checked their website and I actually pulled up a not a spreadsheet, but just like the little graph of how much they estimated their cost was. So how much Korea University estimated their cost was going to be in order to study there for fall 2020, so super recent, it's like right now. So when I went to Korea University, I went as an exchange student. So what that kind of means is like a certain number of people from my home university in New York. So let's say the number was actually 8. So let's say 8 people come from New York to Korea University. 8 people from Korea University also come to New York. So it's just like a swap. It's like an exchange program for a semester. So because I had applied through my university for the exchange program that semester, I actually paid my university tuition. So I got the same amount billed to me as I usually did for any other semester. So that was super easy for me, just like on an admission level basis, to A, get in, and B, also pay for it. But actually it costs way less to go to college in Korea than it does in the US. Big shocker. But it costs way less in Korea. It actually only costs $5,000 to $6,000 a semester. To give you a little comparison, Korea University is a private college. It is also like Ivy League ranked because it's such a prestigious college. So actually it only costs $5,000 to $6,000 a semester to study there, but compared to like Harvard, which is actually an Ivy League and in the US, actually costs almost $80,000 a year, so $40,000 a semester. So it will cost you $10,000 to $15,000 a year to study abroad at Korea University, while it will cost you $70,000 to $80,000 to study in Harvard. So just a little comparison of like US US universities compared to Korean universities. Korean universities are way cheaper. So the second biggest cost is probably going to be your rent. I decided to stay at an Airbnb at Korean University. My rent was $550 a month. At $550 a month for I think 4.5 months, so half of August, September, October, November, and half of December. So 4 months. So my rent for 4 months was actually $2,455.34. So that's how much I paid to live in Korea for the semester. Back at home, I was already paying rent at my home university, which is Binghamton University. There, I think I was paying $575 a month for rent. So in comparison to what I was already spending at my home university, it was actually not too much. And number 3 on probably the biggest cost of studying abroad in South Korea is your airfare. So they told me that I got into Korea University around June. And then by July, I had already booked my ticket to go. So I actually booked a round trip ticket. I booked a trip from New York to Korea. But on the way back, I actually booked a ticket from Hong Kong back to New York. Before I went there, I had already decided that I was going to spend New Year's in Hong Kong. So that's why my flight was actually a little bit more expensive. But I think that because I booked it a little bit ahead of time, I paid $900 total for both of the round trips. So if we add everything up that has been said so far, right now we are at around $9,400. So $9,400, I know it seems so much, but remember that you're going to college there. Remember you're getting an education there. And if you got an education in the US, you'll be probably paying at least like $20,000 off the bat. So just take those things into consideration. If you're in high school right now, I know that that sounds like so much money, but once you get to college, these are kind of the things that you have to pay. And also, if you stay at the student dorms at Korea University, room and board there is actually way cheaper. At my home university, room and board sometimes was more expensive than tuition, which sounds ridiculous, but that's how it was. Room and board at Korea University is super cheap. The cheapest one, if you live in a triple, is only $187 a month. So check out my other video on where to stay when you study abroad in Korea for those exact prices. So another expense, this one is not too big, it's actually your passport photos, and your visa. So I would say all of those things will come to around maybe $200. If you have to renew your passport, you have to get new passport photos, you have to also pay for the visa, which I think is $80, and the application fee. So I would roughly say those are like $200, $250. And then how much does it cost to eat in Korea? So this honestly ranges. It really depends on what you're eating and what your budget is. To be honest, you can literally find meals that are like $2. Like kimbap in Korea is $3 max. Okay, so you can find things that are like $2, $3. I've eaten really good meals that comes with like a soup and stuff for $6, $7. There's a lot of options to eating inexpensively and really good food in Korea. There's a lot of options that are under $10. Let's say you spend $10 every meal. You don't have to spend $10 every meal, but let's say you do. Let's say you spend $10 every meal, you eat 3 meals a day, that's $30. $30, you are there for 4 months. 4 months has 120 days, so which is $3,600. I wouldn't really factor this kind of in as an expense, only because you're also eating food like if you were studying at your home university. So it's not really like an extra expense that you have, and I think that honestly the food in Korea is way cheaper than like the food that I had in the US. In the US, I feel like meals now are like $15. But in Korea, you can definitely eat under $10 and you can be eating good. Of course, if you decide to splurge, you want to treat yourself, stuff like that, there is food for like $10 to like $30. That's really good. I had so much all-you-can-eat Korean barbecue in Korea, and it was only like $10.95. Like all the places that I went to was like less than $15, which is just so crazy to me because it's like you have to clean the grill, you have to set up the grill, all of those things, and you're doing it for like under $15. All you can eat, that's a freaking score. Like I ate so much $15 all-you-can-eat Korean barbecue when I was in Korea. Let me know down in the comments if you guys want me to tell you guys where I ate. I will definitely let you know. I will tell you all my secrets. So other costs of studying abroad in Korea is your personal expense. So what I mean by this is the amount of money that you're going to save to do the stuff that you want to do. So for me, I went to Japan, I went to Taiwan, I went bungee jumping. So all of those things that you really want to do, you're going to have to like portion a part of your money for those personal expenses. So things that you want to buy, you know, makeup, clothes, stuff like that, personal expenses. So makeup, I would say, is kind of roughly the same price as it it is in Korea as it is actually in the US. I think it's a little bit less expensive than Sephora, but I would say that it is definitely pricier than Ulta. But you can get like drugstore stuff there too, just like Ulta. So when I went to Korea, I actually decided to bring around $5,000 in personal expense spending money. Just money that I would have to like spend and like use. Before you guys come for me, I am not rich. My parents did not give me money. I earned the money by myself. Freshman year, I knew I was studying abroad in Korea, and freshman, sophomore, junior year, I worked. I freaking went to work. I bartended, I was a fine dining server, I was a regular server, I sold things online. So before you come for me, that $5,000, I worked for it and I spent it how I wanted. The main things that I spent my personal expense on would be a lot of plane tickets, lots and lots of flights. But they weren't really expensive flights. Like round trip to Osaka was only like $150. My round trip from Korea to Taiwan was only like $200. In Taiwan, I stayed at a hostel. It was only $10 a day. From Korea to Tokyo was around $250 too. When I was in Tokyo, I spent $30 a day on a hostel, so that really wasn't that much money. Another expense that you probably will have is transportation. If you live in the dorms, this probably isn't that big of an expense for you, but if you live in an Airbnb, you're going to have to take the bus or the train to school every day. It's pretty cheap to take the bus or the train. From what I remembered, it was only like $1, $1.10, so really not that expensive. Okay guys, so right now I'm going to give you guys a list of just basic prices of things, just to kind of help you, give you like an idea of how much things really cost there. Okay, so the minimum wage of living in Korea is 8,591 an hour, which is approximately $7.24 an hour. So a typical meal I would say is around $8 for lunch. A Big Mac in Korea is around $5.50. Rent can cost from $180 living in the dormitory up until like $1,000, $1,500, really depends on your needs. Compared to buying groceries in Seoul, I actually think buying groceries is more expensive than eating out, which I know sounds super weird, but in a study who compared from the prices of groceries in LA to the prices of groceries in Korea, Seoul was 30% more expensive in groceries. This is probably because in Seoul, it's really expensive to like buy fruits, buy vegetables sometimes. They don't really have like Florida like we do. Train rides and bus rides are around 1,251, which is only $1 US. It actually is pretty expensive to get a phone plan in Korea. I didn't expect it to be so expensive, but I remember it was at least $30 to like $120 for unlimited Wi-Fi or like a Wi-Fi egg or like a SIM card, stuff like that. I remember it was one of the biggest expenses because that was like at least $1 a day. And then here are some prices for like common activities. So for Korean karaoke, it's around 1,000 Korean won for 4 songs, which is actually only like 83 cents for 4 songs. A movie ticket there is around 12,000 won, which is around $10. A coffee in a cafe, I actually thought coffee would be really cheap in Korea because they're like so specialized and they love coffee, but it's actually not that cheap. I would say that it's at least $4 to $5, maybe even $6 to $7 if you get like an espresso blended drink, something like that. And it depends on the cafes. Like some cafes are actually really high end. So that's gonna give you guys some like fruit prices right now. So 6 apples is around $6. Box of cherry tomatoes is around $5. 30 eggs is around $8. Yes, eggs are expensive in Korea. A liter of milk is around $5. A box of cereal is around $4. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of prices for restaurants right now. Fried chicken is around 15,000 won, which is around $14. A little bit more expensive than like if you eat pork. So the prices for like poultry in Korea, it goes from like beef, chicken, and pork. So pork is like the cheapest actually. Yeah, hopefully those prices were a little bit helpful for you. These are 2020 prices. Honestly, coming from New York City, South Korea was a very affordable place to live. It just depends how you budget your money. A little bit can really go a long way, but I would make sure you have enough money saved up so you can have a lot of fun when you get there. You don't have to hold yourself back from anything. You can really just like be yourself and do all of the things that you really wanted to do when you get there. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you like it, and please give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and let me know down in the comments what surprised you the most about the prices in Korea. Were you surprised that it's actually not as expensive as you think? And stay tuned for the next video in my series on how to study abroad in South Korea, where I tell you everything I wish I knew before going, plus my honest tips, tricks, and opinions. And yeah, thank you guys so much. See you later.